Shalom, shalom, everybody. Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, found online at www.koshertorah.com. Well, it is time for us to have another weekly chat about what I at least consider to be very important, relevant issues about what's happening in our world today, and most likely how it's affecting you, maybe without you even realizing it. You know, with everything going on in the world today now, with the pandemic and all types of social and economic disturbances and challenges, I always tell people it's not so much what we should be looking at as, I'm catching myself in two different things here at the same time. Let me take a step back. If you look at what we are being shown today, that's the best way. Everything is about the epidemic, the healing, the this and the that. It permeates global news. As you know, we're having all types of economic disturbances, which right now, to date us, it's Wednesday, the 29th of April, 2020. And right now, at least here in Tennessee, they're starting to roll back a number of these things, and the economy is going to start to open. So this is what we're focused on. Now, for those of you who are a little bit familiar with the martial arts, I've had this discussion with my martial arts students. They know this very well. All right. Let me give an example. When you're fighting, all right, you always lead with what's called a bluff. So if I'm like this and my fist is out there like this, and I'm making movements with my hands like this, right? Don't pay attention to this hand. This is not the hand that's going to strike you. This is the hand that's getting your attention. You better watch for this hand or one of the feet. This is a typical martial arts deceptive movement. When I look at the entire global scene focusing in one direction, I sit there and stroke my not so long beard and I go, what am I not seeing? What am I not supposed to be paying attention to? Now you might jump and say, that's rather conspiratorial. No, I'm not looking for conspiracies. Actually, I think that conspiracies in and of themselves are part of the problem. Simply because when you look at the concept of a conspiracy and what actually it means, from our Kabbalistic point of view, we recognize exactly what it is. I'll get to that in a minute. What are we not seeing? I don't know. I have to admit it. Simply because, needless to say, now, I can go and tell you about my meditations, my astral projections, what I've seen, and all that other kind of stuff, but I very rarely will ever discuss that stuff publicly, simply because I don't really think it's relevant. My personal insights and revelations, again, are in that word, personal. But I need to share with you something that goes beyond me that affects us all. When we want to talk about the power of the occult, let's not throw around words. Let's identify actual forces that be. Again, let me take a step back here. For those of you who do not know, for the last 36 business days at least, I have been teaching short 20-minute lessons in the Sefer Yetzirah. And I'm teaching it from the writings of Chaim Vital, but at the same time, I'm helping you understand the actual practical applications of the text. Now, for those who want to take it in the prophetic Kabbalistic direction, as you already know, I have another course in the Sefer Yetzirah in that direction. For those who are interested, you just send me an email at arielsadok@gmail.com and I'll give you more details. But again, my point is this. What are we not seeing? I've already answered that. But you have to understand, just because I've already answered that I don't know, doesn't mean there's not something going on out there. When we want to talk about the powers of the occult, like I said, we have a Kabbalistic source for this. And that, surprisingly, of all sources, is the Zohar. Now, just a word about the Zohar while we're counting down the Omer. I am of the scholarly school, which does not hold the Zohar to be an historical text dating back to the 2nd century. I think that has been so comprehensively disproven that only the extreme fundamentalists will deny the realities therein. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't disqualify the validity of what the Zohar teaches. You see, when you're dealing with the Zohar, you're dealing with philosophy, concepts. The fancy word is, of course, metaphysics. And metaphysics is a concept and an idea of things that are beyond this physical world. The old Greek philosophers discussed this. Plato and even Aristotle. They got really deep with this kind of stuff. Now, you could say, what does that have to do with Judaism and Torah? Well, in all due respect, a lot. Because whether you like it or not, there has always been overlapping cultural influences since the days of Moses. Yes, even Rabbi Eliyahu ben Amozeg, the author of Israel and Humanity, writes there very clearly how there was clear Egyptian influence upon Moses and thus into our Torah. We clearly know the nature of the influence of the Babylonian and Persian cultures on both Ezra and Daniel. We clearly see the influence of Greek philosophical concepts, which integrated in the Israelite world in the days of the Second Temple. This is not bad and wrong. This is the way that heaven guides us to be. Why is it important for me to say this? Because if you ever want to understand the nature of the real occult, you have to understand sources. You have to be a detective to trace things back to where they come from. So if I want to quote to you something from the Zohar, okay, you have to recognize that there are other things in the Zohar which are going to sound awfully familiar, awfully similar to things that you're going to find in other religious paths, other spiritual traditions. Is that good to show that everything's all one and the same? Maybe yes. Maybe no. It all depends. So, again, I want things to be relevant to the here and now. The Zohar, the original Zohar, I should say, Helik Rishon Daf Kaf He Amud Aleph, for those of you who want to play rabbi here and know sources, it speaks of the 5 types of what are called the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. It's a statement that's made in the book of Exodus that when Moses left Egypt, there was a mixed multitude of people who came with him. Now, the mixed multitude of whom we speak today are not those people. Those people lived, 3,500 years ago. Who knows what happened to them or their descendants? No one can trace that, so don't go looking for bloodlines, please. But look at how the Zohar interprets the Erev Rav as it says very clearly, attitudes of spiritual expression. And one of those groups of the Erev Rav are called the Amalekites. Remember the Amalekites in the book of Exodus? They're the ones who attacked the weak of Israel as they were straggling along. Now, you remember from the biblical story of Exodus, hey, we just went through Passover a couple weeks back. You should remember this stuff. When the children of Israel had to confront Egypt, heaven said, stand aside, I'm going to take care of stuff. God parted the Red Sea, we went through, drowned all the Egyptians, right? That's a pretty cool thing, right? I love the Cecil B. DeMille version of it in the movie The 10 Commandments. Of course, it wasn't anything like that, but lovely, lovely scene nevertheless. The point is, right after this, weeks later, Amalek attacks, and where are the lightning bolts from heaven? Where's the pillar of fire? Nothing. God says, Moses, send out soldiers, kick butt. And they fought, but they didn't win. They fought to a draw. Now, who these historical Amalekites are is not our point. We're not going to follow them into the days of King Saul and the rest. We're not going to get into the Midrashic connection to Haman in the Purim story. Forget all of that. That's not what's necessary right now. The Zohar defines Amalek today as the spirit of strife and division and deception. You are all familiar with the great statement, united we stand, divided we fall. Look at what's happening today. Understand the nature of the division that we are experiencing culturally, socially, politically, and most certainly economically. We are being pushed to reopen our economies, which may or may not be early. I certainly am not the one to judge. There are those who are on both sides having both opinions. Who's to say who's right? Well, who's to say what's going on with the virus is right? Is it this deadly killer that's going to revive and kill millions or not? Well, I'm not the one to answer that, now am I? But I am the one who can recognize Amalek today. And this is where you need to start when you want to understand the power of the occult today. I want to go back a century, even a little bit more, and discuss the relationship of the occult and anti-Semitism. You know what anti-Semitism is? Hatred of Jews. But you know what? There's something related to the hatred of Jews, and that is the hatred of the Bible, the hatred of God, the hatred of Ten Commandments, morality, the old traditional way. How many of us have already succumbed to that divisive Amalekite influence? You want me to tell you? Almost all of us listening right now. Because our culture is permeated like a subtle wave. Like, you know, you have a spatula which you stick under something in the frying pan and you flip it over. Well, that is what modern culture has become. Almost a spatula. Look at social media. Here we are right now. I got a little cell phone in front of me. Wonderful. There's more technology in this little cell phone in front of me than all the computer power that put a man on the moon 50 years ago. Now, I can talk to you and you're all over the world. I see a couple of you guys. I recognize where you are all over the world. That's wonderful technology. But go online and try to find something. And you'll find a million different sources. Google's intent is to try to become like a collective consciousness in which all knowledge of all humanity can be stored. Yeah, but you notice something about Google, YouTube, Facebook. They have their policies of what they do and do not allow to be made public. Now, if you listen to the policy, you and I will agree, yes, what they say is correct. We don't want divisive stuff, hatred stuff, violent stuff, all that's big and bad. We all get that. But sometimes what their interpretations are and what they choose to censor goes a little outside of those definitions. How many of you have read George Orwell's 1984? If you haven't, you should see either the movie or the book to recognize what we call doublespeak, double standards. It's all over the place. Go back now into history. Study occultic literature. Remember I said earlier about studying the Greek literature, Plato and Aristotle and the Neoplatonic philosophers like Plotinus and Pliny and stuff like that? Why do we study them? Well, most rabbis don't. I do. I'll tell you why. 25 or so years ago, when, I would read Gershom Scholem, the professor at Hebrew University who wrote the books of scholarly Kabbalah. And in his history and analysis of the Zohar, he would always say how this or that concept of as above, so below came out of this Neoplatonic philosophy. I was of the opinion, God forbid, that anything holy and Jewish should come from an unclean, non-holy source. So I went on a scholarly pursuit to prove the professor wrong. So I said, I'm going to study Plato and Aristotle and Plotinus and Pliny and the rest. And I'm going to come to the conclusion to be able to document how wrong he is. Well, after many, many years, I sat there again, stroking my beard, and I said, son of a gun, he was right. Yeah, I see the connections now. And I recognized that if they were good enough for our holy rabbis, they're good enough for me. So I accepted them. And now, to this day, I will go and study everything anywhere I can get my hands on, because I want to know source material. That's the scholar in me. What can I say? I want to know where it comes from. If you want to say something, I want to know where it comes from. I want to know what it means. I want to know the source. Don't you quote to me and says, well, a study at a university says. What university? What are the doctor's name? Where can I find this study? Let me check out exactly what they did and how they did it to discover what the truth is. No. You can't do that. You know that they're wrong. You know that they're right. You know about them, don't you? You better watch out for them because they're out to get you. Doesn't that sound like Amalek, the divisive spirit? And you go, yeah, they're out to get me. I can't do this. I better not do that. Oh, look at this, look at that. No. Amalek, recognize it. Source material, looking back to the truth. In the Kabbalah, Chaim Vital, in the Kitvei Hari, always speaks about what we call tikkun. Tikkun means rectification. We have what we call the forces of restriction, called din. Din is severity, limitation. How do we mitaken, rectify or sweeten this din, this judgment as they call it? It's not by adding mercy, it's opposite. It's by going to its source in the severity Binah, which is understanding. The power of mind strips myth and metaphor of its power. Way, way back. Back in 1800s, there was a woman, New York. She had connection with the ascended masters, and they revealed to her secret truths. How wonderful. She wrote many books, and it became the foundation of what we call today theosophy. They started the Theosophical Society, still in New York to this day, prominent all over the world. Well, if you look at this Russian woman, Madame Blavatsky, look and see what she wrote. She talks all about the Atlanteans and the Lemurians and the root races. And she also talked about the Jews. Yeah, she knew all about the Jews. Those Jews, they aren't fully human, aren't they? No, they're like a gutter race. They're bad, they're this, they're that. Go Google this. Put in Madame Blavatsky, Attitudes Towards Judaism. Read for yourself in her Isis Unveiled and all this other stuff of what she says. Okay? That's documented history. You might have heard of, that guy in Germany, Adolf. Remember good old Adolf? Yeah. He studied Madame Blavatsky. He had connections with occultic societies, the Thule amongst others. These were groups that developed over years. In Germany, which was the enlightened, erudite, intellectual society of the end of the 19th and beginnings of the 20th century, these brilliant scientists in Vienna, and Berlin, and Munich, you had so many New Agers amongst them, occultists. And they got into not only Blavatsky, channeling, and all this other stuff. And it revealed to them the ancient secrets. You don't know the ancient secrets, do you? I will share with you some of the ancient secrets. And I'll share with you how they apply today. It was well known in the ancient circles. Zoroaster, remember Zarathustra? Thus spoke Zarathustra, the founder of Zoroastrianism. He knew this. And many of the ancients in the Gnostic world knew this. You see, we have the heavens and the earth. And in the Bible, it says that Elohim created the heavens and the earth. But you got to know that the heavens are pure. They're holy. They're sublime. They are above any kind of reproach. But this earth is mundane and dirty and filthy and disgusting. And the God who created the heavens wouldn't touch this earth. Ugh, disgusting. This earth was created by another God. The God of the dirt. The God of the disgusting. That's right. The God of the Bible. The God of the Jews. He's the one who created this earth, just like the Bible says. He's not the true God. He's not the Heavenly Father. He is what the Bible would call the devil. Yes, according to the ancient Gnostics, if you really look at it clearly, the devil in the Bible is really the God of the Jews. Whereas the serpent in the Garden of Eden is truly the bringer of wisdom and the true God. They reverse the order. God has become the devil, and the devil has become God. That's an old Gnostic teaching dating back centuries and millennia. It's been around forever. If you go into like Nag Hammadi stuff or all this ancient Gnostic stuff, yeah, you're going to find it. Well, guess what? It revives in modern New Age teachings. Oh, very, very much so. It is in the UFO circles to this day. Let me share with you some of my source material here so you know what I'm talking about. Well, what was I thinking? I just lost my train of thought because one of my sources just slipped right out of my mind. Okay, well, I guess it'll have to come to me. See, I've always told you, I love raw, real stuff. So you know that this isn't edited. Whatever comes to mind, this is how I speak and talk. Let's talk about the UFO stuff, because that seems to be what's prominent today. For those of you familiar with the entire scenario of what allegedly happened at Roswell, okay, you can read Colonel Philip Corso's book. And if you want 100% accurate, what was revealed in that book. There really was a crash. They were Nishaya. They were not extraterrestrial. They were interdimensional. But if you look at the literature that comes out of this, Google this online, you will find that there is an alleged transcript of telepathic communication between a certain military woman who was able to communicate with the ET before the ET died. And the ET was very happy to share all this kinds of stuff about what's going on in the universe and all the rest. Well, one of the things that the ET made very clear was that there are the good guys and the bad guys. And he, the ET, the gray alien with the big bulging eyes, he's one of the good guys. And the bad guys out there, they're out to destroy you. So therefore, the grays are the good guys who are out there to protect you. And throughout history, the gray guys have been there, but the bad guys have always been there. One of these bad guys took Moses and lied to him, telling him that he was God, and gave him this imprisoning commandments and religion. Yeah, that's what the great alien told according to these, in quote, Roswell documents. Now, is there any legitimacy to that? Really? You're going to start listening to little gray alien stories? Which violate thousands of years of stuff? No. But you see it echoing back to that old Gnostic teachings. Okay? God is the devil, and the devil is God. Oh, there it is again. you're going to say to me, Rabbi, this isn't important. There aren't that many people who believe that. Really? Well, let me share with you. Personal experience happened just recently, within the last year. When I was out at Alien Con in Los Angeles this last year, as you know, we have thousands and thousands of people there. Well, there was a gentleman there, and he was very proud of a book that he had written. And he wanted me to have a copy, a signed autograph copy. Of course, you know, you're polite, say thank you. It's called The True Identity of God. Well, who do you think his true identity of God is? Of course, he's able to prove from the literature the God of the Bible is the devil, and the devil of the Bible is God. There you go. And this is the book being propagated out there, and it echoes back to all this ancient stuff. Okay, you're going to say to me, Rabbi, this is all academic. It's very nice. We know that God isn't the devil. We know the devil isn't God. So what? So what? Well, I think we have to be paying a little bit more attention to the, in quotes, so what, to see what's going on. Take a look at our culture war. When did our culture war start? What is our culture war? It is a challenge. Do you hear Sierra in the background on the couch there? It's raining out. So she absolutely refuses to go out. Ellie wants her to say, you know, be quiet, very professional. Ellie's, of course, very European, very professional. She doesn't like my American way. We're a little bit different in that respect. Sierra, you want to come and say hi? No, she doesn't want to come say. Okay, so let's Sierra be. But getting back to the point, remember I said, never allow distractions to take you away. I don't consider this a distraction. You got to be able to stay focused. The whole concept of our culture war began when? Surprisingly, right after the time of Roswell, back in the 1950s, in which we had a cultural shift. Hello, darling. A cultural shift that began with the entire process of challenge to authority, challenge to the foundations of Western morality. Sweetheart, you're disturbing the class. Do you want to say hello? Do you want to say hello? You probably want to go out. I know it's raining out. But like I said, Sierra has her needs too. 50s. Look at the culture. Look at the history. Look how everything is Sierra on a kosher diet. She eats dog food. Sierra was never commanded by God to keep kosher laws. And if he did, well, then I'd give her kosher food. She eats dog food. Come on, let's stay focused now. All right? In spite of Sierra disrupting us, it's not the first time you've had her or Tex or any of these others disrupt us. We have life disrupting us all the time. Back in the 50s and the 60s, you saw a major shift in culture. We had the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the beginning of the new age, the hippie movement, everything being love and free and beautiful and great. You all remember, well, if you're my age, you will remember this. But what was this culture? What did it bring us? Some will say it brought us greater enlightenment. It brought us greater wisdom. It brought us greater awareness. Well, yes and no. Isn't that true? Take a look at what it brought us. Go back into my days when I grew up in the 60s. We had television programs on all about the occult. Yes, we did. How many of you might remember television programs from the 60s like Bewitched? You remember Elizabeth Montgomery? The beautiful blonde who was the witch. She used to wiggle her nose and stuff. That was rather innocent, wasn't it? Many of you might remember Barbara Eden, who portrayed I Dream of Jeannie, which is about the jinn, the genie. Remember, genie is like a demon, okay? It was all innocent. How many of you might remember The Munsters or The Addams Family? All weird, kind of crazy stuff. But it was innocent. And then things started to shift. And they got darker. Now, look at rock and roll music. I remember rock and roll from the 60s. Do you remember the Beatles when they appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show in like suits and ties with short hair? Look what happened to them. Even when Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones was on the, in quote, Ed Sullivan Show, if you go look this stuff up, very clean cut and nice, look what happened. We had a complete shift of things happening and a complete cultural change. Where did these influences come from? Yes, Dark Shadows, Barnabas Collins and the rest. Where did it all come from? It had its foundations and its beginnings in the influences that were coming from outside the normative culture. Go back into the 60s and you had weirdos like Anton LaVey and his, in quote, satanic church. Everybody looked at that as what it was, a fringe element lunatic. But then suddenly things began to shift and change. Why? Because it's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. All kinds of beautiful new things were coming in. We were discovering new things, exploring in new ways, experimenting with new things, whether it was with psychedelic drugs or whether it was exposures to different cultures and the like. What did this do? For those who actually have been exposed to Hinduistic teachings or Buddhist teachings, did you actually become a Buddhist? Did you actually become a Hindu? Let me tell you something from my experience and knowledge. I know faithful Buddhists, faithful Hindus, faithful Taoists, and they are some of the most spiritual and righteous human beings I've ever met. They're really cool. But they're not like Western New Agers who have created a smorgasbord of a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they put it all together and they come up with nothing. Look at the Hollywood world and the level of morality that it has become to present. Look at what rock and roll has come to present. Look at the shifting here of how culture has changed. And it has worked to eat its way like a little bit, like the spatula trying to flip things underneath, little by little by little by little, to turn things over. And it took time. It took decades, but it did. Our old cultural norms are totally out the window. Our old religious mores, totally gone. You try to mention Western religion today in a positive context in certain circles, and you will be attacked with all kinds of things. Now, you know this is the truth. You will be attacked racially, you will be attacked culturally, politically, philosophically, religiously. Why? What are these attacks? Whatever happened to that, in quote, New Age concept of live and let live? How many of you remember what liberalism was in the day of John F. Kennedy? All right, where in which the concept was, I will disagree with what you say, but I will always support your right to say it. Today, that's become a conservative value. Whereas on the other side, they say, you can't say this, you can't say that. Censorship again. Do you see what's happening here? Do you see what has happened? When you want to talk about the power of the occult, you must go back into the source material and look for their original ideas. Go back into Blavatsky, see how it influenced the Thule and eventually the Nazis. Go back into many of these original spiritualist views and see how they have changed and shifted and attacked and destroyed those things which we hold sacred today. If you want to proclaim biblical messages today, Jewish or Christian, you will find that you become a victim of attack by those who are going to call you racist or patronistic or this or that. That which was originally a good thing has become bad, and that which was originally a bad thing has become good. This is the way and nature of what we call Amalek. This is the spirit of Amalek within us today. So when you look and you see all this stuff out on the web today, all you see is the spirit of Amalek running amok. There is a tremendous amount of negative activity today. In the presentation of this class, I called it demonic activity. But we have to dispel fantasy. Demons, unlike in the Christian tradition, are not fallen angels under the dominion of a separate operator called Satan, Lucifer, which is not from the Bible, mind you. There is no real war out there between the forces of good and evil and the duking it out for your soul for the sake of eternal heaven or eternal hell. This has no foundation in the Torah and the Jewish Bible whatsoever, period. But what we do have are very malevolent forces that are seeking control. Now, let me talk about control. We're already under control, okay? For those of you who are afraid of the, in quote, New World Order, well, let's dispel some of these mythologies. Number one, you're going to argue with me, and I don't care, okay? The Masons are not out to control the world. There's no such thing as an Illuminati. It's all a bunch of BS. The Jews aren't in control of the world. We don't have all the money. At least I don't. I have to pay rent. I have to pay car payments. Hey, if I'm in some kind of world conspiracy, I don't own a bank. No one gave me a bank. Where's my bank? Right? No, this is all a bunch of nonsense, and it's specifically done to divide. Do you remember I gave you the example in the martial arts? I said whenever you see a hand out there in the front, it's always to distract you. Well, when people are pointing fingers at other groups, rather than point the finger at where they're pointing, go look behind them to see who's doing the pointing. See who's making the accusations. And this is where you will find Amalek. So when we want to talk about the nature of the vision today, look at the nature of the conspiracy theories going on right around this epidemic. Yeah, the epidemic is man-made, which very well might be. And it's out there to create whatever, so that we can have, whoever is supposed to be has more control. Let's go back 6 months. Do you think government has any more control today than they had 6 months ago? Think about it. You don't think they could control, follow you through your cell phone? They can't turn on the cell phone and listen to you and not listen to you. All that technology has been there for years and years. But let me tell you something, and let me tell you the truth. I don't know about you, but I know about myself. I'm not that important. I'm not that significant. I could care less if, in quote, the government was listening to me now. The powers that be. Let them listen. I'm honored. I can guarantee you, I'm not going to have a knock on my door in the middle of the night. We want to talk to you. No, you don't. Oh my, I'm nobody. You're nobodies. We're all nobodies. So this fear, this paranoia that they're out to get us. What do you think they're out to get us for? Oh, they want to kill us all. Why? It's not good for anything. How do you expect to kill billions of people? Think about it, all right? Concentration camps. You're not going to have concentration. It cost billions of dollars. Do you know why the Nazis lost World War II? Go look at the history. And it's because they placed such emphasis on the Holocaust, such input on the Holocaust, that they actually lost focus on fighting the war. They shot themselves in the head. So there is no one out there doing this stuff. I see people here in text that coming up with all this stuff. Bill Gates. What do you think Bill Gates wants to do? Control the world. Why? What do you think he wants from you? He wants to put a chip in your brain and in your hand like the 666. Please. That's a misinterpretation of the book of Revelation. That's a fear factor which is misguiding you and not letting you recognize what's really happening in the world. None of that is true. And, don't take my word for it, explore. Analyze. Like we said, the great tikkun is you go back into Binah, intellect. And if someone quotes to you something, check out the sources. Yes, there's a very, very popular conspiratorialist out there today who pontificates all kinds of crazy ideas. He goes on with the videos. Yeah, this won't be on YouTube too long because they're going to take me down because they're aware of what I know. Yeah, and the video's up there for years and years. That's all advertisement. It's all promotion to scare you, to get you into his little minions. And one of his little circles, he teaches all the time, right? You got to watch out for the aliens. They're out there. They're reptilians, and they're shapeshifters. And they've taken the form of the Queen of England and the President of the United States. And the Jews, they're all reptilian. Servants of their devil god, going back to all that old Gnostic stuff. Well, again, you listen to this stuff, and what amazes me, how so many people are actually willing and able to believe it. You know what's one amazing thing that we find today? The flat earthers. For centuries, millennia, it has been proven over and over again that Earth is a globe. It was proven centuries ago that the world is actually heliocentric as opposed to geocentric. And yet today, in our modern technological world, you have people who actually believe that all of existence is this flat little surface with a ball on top. Really? Oh yeah, they can prove it. And if you go online and you look at all their supposed quotes, you go, huh? How is it that people can have access to so much information and at the same time have such little knowledge? Yeah, you're being told to watch the pandemic and all this stuff. What else is going on? What else is really happening in the world today? Power grab by government? A lot of weird stuff going on here in the United States, in which individual governors of a state are saying, I declare this, I declare that, and you have the people rising up and saying, oh, no, you're not. And this is showing us things. So, we're not in 1984 just yet. We haven't lost our complete control just yet. But where are we? Like I said, I don't have an answer for you. But I will explore. I will ask the difficult questions. I am going to look. When people want to say, do you know there's a connection between the coronavirus and the new 5G cell phone towers? Oh, really? Oh, yes, don't you know that in the place there's a 5G cell phone tower, that's where people get the virus? Oh, really? I'd like to see these statistics for that. I want to see the records for that. Don't go pontificating and telling me crazy stuff. Prove, prove, prove. I want to see it. Yeah? And even if you're able to show me something, I want to analyze it. I want to look. I want to use the power of the Binah, the discretion, to recognize and understand. Where did this original insight come? That the God of the Bible is the real devil, and the devil of the Bible is the real God. Where did that come from? Gnosticism. What is Gnosticism? It was the original and personal experience and interpretation of inner spiritual experience. Today we call that fantasy. Some will call it delusion. Now, that takes on a life of its own, just like everything else does. How many of us watch movies? We all do, right? You've all watched Star Wars just as much as I have, and we enjoy the characters and the concepts of the Force and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Yoda and the like. And you all know there is an actual, true, and real religion of Jediism out there today. Well and good. But if the religion of Jediism wanted to proclaim, yes, in a vision, I, as the leader of Jediism, saw on a distant planet in a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away that there really was an Obi-Wan, there really was a Master Yoda and the like. And people accept that. And that becomes the new faith. And if you don't believe it, just like all the other religions have done over the centuries, Do you see how these things spiral out of control? All because of the great discretion when we are taught to eat the fruit of the tree of life. The tree of life is not mystical misinformation. It's rational spirituality, which makes sense. And that is how we overcome the tree of knowledge, good and evil, by being able to distinguish and discern between good and evil. Do you understand why this is so valuable and important today? Where we are today didn't come out of nowhere. It's been here for decades. Maybe I'm the conspiratorialist here. I see almost a concerted effort over the decades to shift us completely away from our values and culture. And now we're at the point where I've completely broken down the most essential and vital human relationships. Remember what the most vital human relationship, the backbone of American culture, used to be the family. Husband, wife, children, that's been blown out of proportion, blown away today. And today, with the wonders of our social media, everybody's now becoming entrapped and ensnared in their little boxes of our smartphones. The one thing I see coming out of the pandemic is the fear of everyone wanting to get close and associating with one another again. I don't care if you shake hands or not, but how about being friendly, chatting, sitting by, just blah, 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 chatting? No, today, not only are you 6 feet away physically, you're almost like 60 miles away emotionally. I think that's a very, very bad development. If anything, when we talk about united we stand or divided we fall, well, there's our division right there. Now, again, let's get real and practical. People are believing we're in the end of days. Mashiach has to come and save us. We've talked about this in previous lessons. And I am not of the school that believes in a miraculous supernatural intervention. Just like I analyze the occult, I also analyze the teachings of Mashiach. I have an entire course about the coming of Mashiach. You can go onto a KosherTorah.com website. Biblical teachings, biblical prophecies about Mashiach, free course for you. Teachings of the coming of Mashiach from the tractate Sanhedrin, from the Talmud, free course for you on YouTube. If you want my long and extended course on post-Talmudic messianic teachings, it's available as one of our courses. Go to my course page on KosherTorah.com. See what I have available for you. Teachings from all the different sources. And put them all together, you'll come up with the same conclusion of Maimonides 1,000 years ago almost, who said, so many different ideas and beliefs, no one knows what's going to be until it happens. Well, here we are. And people are in such a state of emotional turmoil. They're desperate to believe anything. And because our fantasy models of the creation of fiction, we can make anything plausible. Look at all of the stories we have about E.T. Way back when, to the flying saucer movies of the 1950s, Earth versus the Flying Saucer. Recent movies like Independence Day and the like. They're the big bad evil aliens and they're coming to get us. Oh, really? Oh, really? We're so important that they're coming to get us. I don't know what the heck they want us for. Right? I think if any of these things were going to happen, they already would have happened. So I'm not so concerned about alien invasions or reptilians. Oh, by the way, just for the record, all right, as myself as a Jewish individual, I can tell you for sure that when I go into the shower, I look down. I don't have a zipper going up and down my chest. I can pull out of my human flesh and be a reptilian. The person who's telling stories like that, I think he's watched a little bit too much television from the 1980s. You remember that old television program, V? Okay, silly nonsense. We have to dispel this. If you want to fight the occult today, recognize what these methods and teachings of the occult are. They are out to deceive you. They are out to isolate you. They are out to create within you fear and panic so that you will be easy to control. That's the big deal. Yes, I am sure that we will have a vaccine solution eventually to the corona, to this corona, COVID, whatever they call it. And people, oh, no, don't take the virus, don't take the vaccine. You know, they have a tracking method in the virus, in the vaccine. Tracking. Who the heck wants to track you? Who cares about you? They could track you through your cell phone. They could track you in a million ways. What do you think they got to put a tracker in a virus, in a vaccine? Take the vaccine, analyze it, show me it. I want to see. How many people have said there are alien implants in my body? Let's see them. Go under the microscope. Go under the X-rays. Let's take a. Oh yeah, I've seen people. They take out these like little itsy bitsy thing. That's an alien implant. I don't know, it looks like organic tissue to me. I don't see how it's an alien whatever, but all this kind of stuff, guys, ladies, gentlemen, my friends, my brothers, sisters, listen. Use your brains. This is the one thing that I love about our Torah tradition. We are an education-based path. We always focus on education. And when we lose that focus and again rely past on superstition, that is where we have problems. Because when you start to believe superstitions as opposed to the realities, you succumb to Amalek. When you learn things like the Zohar that we discussed earlier, the Zohar was never meant to be written as a history book. It is a book of philosophical, metaphysical teachings, and it needs to be understood within the symbolic intent of what it was meant. It was never meant to be understood and interpreted literally, and those people who do so are completely misunderstood what the text is all about. There are people today who hold the Zohar up almost like an idol, and they say, if I have a Zohar, it'll defend me against anything. I can carry a copy of the Zohar, it'll defend me against the virus. Hey, I could hold it up and it'll make me bulletproof. Please, never hold up the Zohar as a bulletproof vest. All right? Bad idea. You're going to get shot. Don't do that. Don't elevate myth to fact. You see, that is what's happening today. Conspiracies are running amok. Fear is running amok. You have to put a stop to it. You have to stop this nonsense hard in its tracks. That's what you must understand. It doesn't matter what your religious persuasions are. It doesn't matter what your philosophical beliefs are. This is not about politics. This is not an argument for or against conservatism or liberalism, right or left, open the state, not open the state. That's neither here nor there. That's not your or my decision. Those are the decisions of the professionals who actually really understand what's going on, and let a professional deal with it. When I go to the hospital because I need an operation, I'm going to trust what the doctor tells me. Why? He's a doctor. He knows what he's doing. She knows what he's doing. She knows what she's doing. Me, I'm a rabbi. You want to come and discuss Torah with me? I can prove my qualifications as a rabbi. I am not a brain surgeon. I am not a rocket scientist. I am not a mathematician. I love to study all these things. But if you want expert's advice, you go to the expert. My field, I'm an expert in my field. You need to understand the way to neutralize Amalek. It says that, right, ki yad al kesya. It says the hand that will be on the throne of God. It will wage war against Amalek throughout all the generations. Amalek is the spirit of division. It is the spirit of suspicion. It is the spirit of paranoia. It is the spirit of division and strife. This has got to stop. We're all in this together. Look who is dying from the virus. It is people who are black and people who are white. People who are Jewish and Christian and every other religion. People who are of this persuasion and people of that persuasion. There are people of all kinds. Viruses, that's the great common denominator. I think that's a great lesson you could learn from God. Somebody is saying here that it's like a judgment. I don't know. I can't speak for God and tell you what God does and what God doesn't do. But I will tell you this. You have to recognize that we talk about demonic elements today. They are running wild. What is a demonic element? Again, they're not the Shadim. Don't blame the Shadim. But the negative forces that we allow ourselves to create. Remember Isaiah 45:7. God is the author of both light, darkness, good, and evil. We are the ones who have the choice what to choose. If you choose to embrace the negative, if you choose to embrace the opposite of truth, thinking or declaring it is true, look where you're going. Look where you will end up. You have many, many cultural movements today that are predicated on the foundation of being anti-biblical and by nature anti-Semitic. And of course, what do we call anti-Semitism today? Sorry if you don't like it, anti-Zionism. It's those Jews in Israel. It's those Zionists. Yeah. And who's the Zionist? Yeah, okay. You go look at their words. They're not stupid, the people who throw out these words. They know how to pick and choose what to say and how to say it. So we have to be intelligent. We have to be smart. And we have to be willing to call out the lie when we see it. So when you see all these conspiratorialist guys on the websites, on the internet, on the YouTube, and all the, they're telling you this is what's going on and this is what's going to happen next, right? Please, number one, don't buy into it. Don't allow your emotions to seduce you to the dark side. Isn't that what Master Yoda taught? Can I actually quote from a fictional character? Why not? Understand. At least I recognize it's a fictional character. Don't confuse things. You must understand truth. Our motto here at the KosherTorah School has always been making the mystical rational. Yes, personally speaking, conclusion, I do my aliyot visions all the time. I see things in other realms and other dimensions. I have experiences. I have revelations. I've been doing this stuff for 40 years. Yeah, I'm a real loony. But you're not going to hear me share this stuff with you because this is my personal inner walk. It's the inner realm. We, you and I, that's the outer realm. There's a big Havdalah between the two. Yes, they're part of the greater same whole world. But I recognize how not to blur one with the other. Many today of my peers cannot do this. They go in, they'll have experiences, and all of a sudden from the concept of their own inner mind, they project that onto the world. That is what everybody does today. And therefore, every religious fundamentalist believes that his or her view is the absolute true way and that everyone else is wrong. Welcome to the spirit of Amalek. Division, strife, hatred. Why is the hatred of the Jew? Because it's a hatred of the Torah. It's a hatred of God. It's a hatred of morals. It's a hatred of the values that we stand for. Remember, it is our Torah tradition that spoke about the unity of all creation, all humanity. The other traditions, no, they're more elitists. You're not with us. You're against us. And us, it's all the one. Understand now how you must fight the occult, how you must recognize and pierce beyond the veil. When you see all the TV shows that are dealing with all this weirdo stuff, you really find that entertaining? I find it pitifully boring. I see these one TV shows, they have characters portrayed as like Metatron and Sandalphone. I go, oh my gosh. Crazy stuff. I love the Cecil B. DeMille's portrayal of Moses and the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston because it was meant to be respectful. In spite of the fact I think it's very comedic, it was meant to be respectful. Look at the later biblical movies. Most of them are disrespectful. And that's that secret spatula flipping things over. Look at our culture today. Look at who we serve. Look at the truth. Pursue truth. Understand the truth. Ugh, I know you're not going to like it. But, all right? Yashki said it. It's a Jewish teaching. You'll forgive me that I say it, but the words are still valuable. You'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Okay? You'll forgive me I quoted from there, but deal with it. You must learn. Like Rabbi, in the Mishnah says, who is wise learns from everyone. Learn from everyone, but learn the great secret. How can somebody's asking you, when can you kill the Amalekites? Amalekites is a psychological mentality. You will only kill the Amalekite within yourself, because it's not an individual, it's not a person anymore. It's an idea and an attitude. That is what the Zohar taught. That is what is the truth today. So we're in the middle of a war with Amalek. And that war will go on. Somebody said, making God's throne complete. God's throne's within you. And if you don't understand that, and you're still hanging on to some external fantasy and mythology, then you're not getting the message. You're not seeing the real picture. You are still in a state of what we call in Kabbalah, pirud, separation. And you need to understand yichud, unity. You see how everything works right in the universe? Little old Sierra here, she went through a little temper tantrum. Now she's just sitting there chilling out and relaxed. All right? You have to understand all of life is like this. It's always in a state of movement. You just got to go with the flow. You don't get all tizzy and upset. Things are happening with the economy. Things are happening with the virus. Relax. We'll get through this. We'll move on. Use this as an opportunity, a learning opportunity to see more, understand more. See the forces that are seeking your personal harm. Understand what anti-Semitism is really all about. Why there is an attempt so intensely to completely delegitimize the state of Israel. Look at the good that the state of Israel does. Oh, look at the way they treat the Palestinians. You're right. There's a lot of problems there, and I'm the first to admit it. And there really needs to be a solution that's equivocal for both sides. I admit it. Don't ask me how to do that. I'm not King Solomon. I don't have that wisdom. But I'll tell you, yeah, you got to admit, you got to acknowledge. You don't take one side over the other. You look for peace. Don't be Amalek. Alrighty. I hope we've gotten the message out. And you've learned from the experience that when tumult and turmoil comes, just go with the flow. Relax. Don't worry about it. Like I said, I love raw video. There were things that I wanted to say, totally slipped my mind. So rather than sit there and go, oh my, I'm in a bad position. No, I just say, you know what? I wasn't meant to say it. I can handle that. I move on. Little Sierra here at my side. She wants to act up. All right. So she acts up. Big deal. Move on. Go with the flow. Don't worry about the issues with the Palestinians and the Israelis. They'll handle their own stuff. You and I need to focus on what's real. When you hear a claim being made about this or that, investigate. Just in conclusion, today alone, I read an article online, supposedly from a doctor, who emphatically declared it is very bad and wrong to wear the masks when you go out. You should not do that. And then right after that article, I read another article from another doctor who said it's absolutely essential and vital to wear the masks when you go out. Which one's right? Check the sources. That is what our Torah tradition teaches us to do. Check your sources. This is what I came here to teach you tonight. Understand this. There is a war. Not for your immortal soul, for heaven or hell. Forget all that stuff. For the control of your mind. That's the only place they can control. The economy's already under control, globally. If we had a one world government or didn't have a one world government, who cares? No one's coming to confiscate your guns in the United States or anything of the kind. Forget all that nonsense. Forget all those fears. Live for what's real. Follow the path of righteousness. being a decent, moral, good human being. That's all that matters. I don't care about your religion, your sexual persuasion, or your this or your that. I just care what kind of a decent, good human being you are. Period. That's all that matters. If the doctors say you wear a mask, wear a mask. Okay? That's all you need to do. Don't wear a mask. Well, just understand, learn, grow. Die, khalas, as we say, enough. We should all be safe. We should all have the wisdom to perform the actions that are necessary to remain safe. Don't take chances you don't need to take. Be at peace. Be calm. Trust in God. Don't ever, ever, ever be afraid of a big brother, because Big Daddy is watching Big Brother, who's watching you. Let it go. Do what needs to be done. And as we say, Shalom Aleinu. Right? May he who makes peace in his high heavens make peace upon us and upon us all. All right? Say Shalom B'Meromav. You all, those of you who know Hebrew, you know what that prayer is. Enough. What more can I say? Ran out of time. God's blessings. Stay healthy, stay safe. Check out the Sefer Yetzirah courses that I have online and the things we have at KosherTorah.com. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for your support. Have a great time. Good night. Shalom.